Hi, today I want to talk about a subject that I've spoken about with other authors, and I think it's a thing. And it is why female readers are harder on heroines that are a little bit less likable. Why are readers tough on unlikable heroines? And so, in order to kind of prepare for talking about this, I had to go through my books that I know are considered the ones with less likable heroines, and then read through all of the 1 and 2 stars. So if I happen to fall on yours and you're listening to this video, don't feel bad about the comment. It's fine. You can handle it. But I just thought it was a good way to show at least like a few comments for each book to show what readers are thinking about that particular heroine. And I want to just give 2 caveats. One is that I realize that in some of the cases, I wanted to show an evolution of the heroine from what she was before to how I viewed her to be at her full potential, and I did not achieve that, especially in my early books. That just didn't, like, I could see it, but the readers couldn't. They didn't follow me there, and so I totally own that. That is my fault. And I want to say that some of these reviews that I'm reading or some of these topics that I'm discussing from my books contain spoilers. So if you don't want any spoiler, maybe don't listen to this video, but they're not going to be bad spoilers. So it's just to kind of give you a little heads up. I also want to say that, some of my heroes got skewered as well. Ironically, it was not the ones that were selfish. Some people thought it was the ones who were too immature when his brother showed up, and that he didn't really fight for the woman that he loved, that he was like kind of petulant or things like that. But then, for instance, Sir Lucius, who is hero of A Fall from Grace, and he really, really, really does not want to get married. He's had enough of family obligations. He just wants to live comfortably, live his own life. And it goes on well into the book. I mean, he really fights against standing up for her, and people seem to be fine with that. So the heroes get their flack too. But I'm going to start with A Faithful Proposal. So that is the book where, some people thought that the hero was a little bit too immature, but the worst of it was the heroine. So here's one comment. Not sure what this author seems to have against women. This is the second novel of hers that I've read, and they both portray the heroines as flawed, unlikable, insert swear word, and totally in need of the men to make them turn good. That was very interesting. Gross. 1 star and will not be reading another. Such a shame because she writes well. And then, I think it was the same one, but she said, got to page 66. I just can't continue on. Anna's character is annoying, and I do not see what Harry sees in her. Now, here is a second review for that book. It's never a good sign when reading a romance when you wish that either the hero or the heroine had a different love interest. Such was the case with this book, unfortunately. The heroine is vacuous, mean-spirited, and shallow. The hero has excellent depth and is a good person who wants to help his community. Why he fell for the bubble-headed heroine, I have no clue. He's an excellent hero who deserved better. So to me, that was like a perfect example of, the heroine cannot have any need for redemption, or it can't be too big. Like, she has to be pretty likable right from the beginning. But I think it's not always that way. I think sometimes people do need to grow. I mean, they need to have the space to grow. And I think a lot of times in marriage, in real life, I know that my husband brought out the best in me. Fortunately, it's a healthy marriage. We love each other. I'm better because of him. There were certain aspects of my personality, like he's a really good listener, he's slow to judge, and I definitely bring out a lot of great things in my husband as well. It's not one-sided. I definitely improved by being married to him. And so I think that that's what finding a good match, a lot of times what it's about. I don't know it's necessarily that she needed a man to turn her good. And, when I was writing Anna's character in a Faithful Proposal, I could really see her. For me, she was someone who had hidden qualities but did not want to show them. Like for her, she wanted to be society woman. She wanted to live in London, but she was loyal and there was something about her. Like there's a point where the hero asks her if she's read Hannah More's Practical Piety. Now that was a book that actually came out at the time and some of the Regency women were reading, and that was helping to transform the period between the Georgians and the Victorians, like turning a little bit more moralistic. And so, she admitted to reading it. It was not the kind of thing that she wanted to talk about. Like she couldn't imagine herself to be a vicar's wife. That was just like the last position she could have ever imagined. And yet that was what was destined for her. And you see her growth later on. She shows incredible grace to a woman who treated her badly. Yes, she's still proud. There's a point where they get into a fight because the hero misunderstands her. But to me, it doesn't mean that it was such an unbalanced match. She's being led to a deeper part of herself, but she's fighting against it. And sometimes that is the case. Sometimes that's us, we women. So that was the first one. So the second book is A Fall from Grace. Now, this was one of my early ones. I wrote in terms of my Regency books, I wrote A Regrettable Proposal, and it was published with Cedar Fort. I wrote A Faithful Proposal, and then I wrote A Fall from Grace. So it's all very early in my writing career, especially my historical romance writing career. And A Fall from Grace is, when I wrote this, I was appealing to the kind of beauty that I would see in Dickens novels, where the heroes and heroines were in a really complex situation, and it was their nobility that shone, and that was the thing that sort of got them out, like it gave them the happy ending. It was their character that gave them the happy ending. And these books, really inspired me. I think they influenced a lot of what I wrote. With A Fall from Grace, with Selena, she was in a complicated situation. Her father lost everything, gambled, lost a family fortune, drank himself to death. And their family had nothing, and they were shunned by society. So she went from a high social position to absolutely nothing. And so a companion position to an old woman, and then she ended up having to be a governess for a young woman at the same time. A lot of the readers were, let me read. One of them said, on the other hand, we have Selena Lockhart, again, an utterly infuriating and straight up stupid woman. This victim mentality just doesn't sit right with me, and it seems that Jenny Goutet has a predilection for such female characters. And yeah, victim, if you have something, if you've got a family you can call on, or if you can get social services to pay your bill, if you can go to college and but in the Regency era, they did not have those possibilities. Like in Dickens' time, which is after the Regency, but they were forced to make good with the life that they were given. It was very difficult to come out of your, in fact, Dickens himself was a rare case of somebody overcoming his circumstances. But Selena was not able. That doesn't make her a stupid woman. It doesn't make her a victim. And so, I wanted her to have the chance to let her nobility in hard circumstances be the thing that Sir Lucius was attracted to, and that eventually was the case. And yeah, okay, maybe I didn't portray it the way everybody would want, but I think it was an unfair attack. Now, that was probably the main complaint I get about Selena, is that she was too much of a doormat. She was Cinderella, nothing went right for her and everything like that. And, one thing I love about series is that you can continue to show the characters afterwards in future books. Like we see her again in Philippa Holt's Court. We see her and her husband and how things are going, and we see that she's in a very different place. And so that's the good thing about series. But, sometimes people don't go that far because it's gross one star and will not be reading another. Sometimes we get that. We give up too soon. And then there was another one about Selena. It's too preaching. I couldn't stand the heroine's judgmental thoughts. So I'm not sure what judgmental thoughts she had other than to keep trying to dig deep to put up with very difficult women in her life. But anyway, okay. Moving right along, The Sport of Matchmaking. Thoughts here. Most people love this book. There were not that many critical thoughts against her, but if there was any problem with the book, it was her. Lady Alice is the daughter of a duke. She's the youngest daughter. She does not want to get married because what has she seen? An unhappy marriage with her parents. You know, her dad has mistresses. She sees society, doesn't want to turn, like she has an independent wealth. She doesn't want to hand it over. And that's exactly what will happen if she gets married. Her husband will own her and her kids and her whatever she brings into the marriage. So she didn't want to do that. Well, here's the review. One review. Alice's character is tainted by society and family relations, so I understand why she would be skeptical of marriage, but she was relentless. It made it hard for me to relate to her. I think it was the same person that said, I hated the whole mistress angle. I hated how she always jumped to conclusions without giving the benefit of a doubt, and it makes me wonder if she really even trusts or respects him. That being said, the premise of the story and the side character saved it. So I feel like this is a modern imposition. You know, it's like even today we can judge a woman who decides not to get married or to have kids, you know, and like, yeah, let her be relentless. She has not had any reason to believe that marriage is going to be a good thing. And when there's some hint of the hero, she thinks that he has a mistress or has had a mistress, there's every reason to believe that he would have. So, yeah. I just think that sometimes we don't allow for a heroine to have trouble growing into the next stage because they're resistant, they have, you know, bad experiences, and it molds them. And so I think that that's another reason why we can be tough on the female characters, but I don't think it's fair. So moving on to A Yorkshire Carol. This is probably my most Hallmark movie book because she leaves Yorkshire, moves to London, never wants to go back. And her childhood friend, Willem, loves Yorkshire, can't understand why she wouldn't want to live there. And he really loves her. He always has. And she resists Yorkshire and she resists him because she knows that falling in love with him would mean moving back, and that's something she does not want to do. And, you know, as in Hallmark movies, they usually the person that moves back, they realize that it's what they wanted all along. And so that's kind of, I thought that was apt for a Christmas book because it's all the feels, all the traditions, all the good things brought to life. And, you know, you do have to take a little bit of a leap and think that actually the heroine was happy there and she will be happy there. It was just sort of running off and wanting to do her own thing. And I can relate to that. I mean, I lived the exciting life that I wanted to live. And although I didn't, you know, move back to the white picket fence in my hometown, I did need, now I want a much quieter life than what I wanted when I was young. And so there has to be kind of a leap of faith that is really what she needs and wants. Here is the review. It was okay. The girl in it, and this is all caps, drove me crazy. She was a typical, I don't want him until I can't have him attitude, and I do not like that. Why can't a person wrestle with inner demons or try to figure out what they want or come to a late realization of what they truly want? Because that was the case with Juliana. So we're nearing the end of my why can't the heroines be likable? And I'm going to talk about A Brilliant Match. Now, A Brilliant Match is the first in the series, The Earl Sisters. And in this book, I wanted to do this is a little spoiler, but you figure it out very quickly in the book, so it's not a big spoiler. The Earl is actually just a kid. I mean, he's a preteen. Dory, is the eldest, and then there's 5 sisters and her brother Evo. And her life is not easy. Her dad was, unfaithful, and he kept pushing off her London season. And the mom has a little bit spineless, kind of under the thumb of her dad. When the dad dies, it falls all on her. Like, nobody is capable of doing anything. Her brother's too young. Her mom is just not up to snuff. Like, she cannot cope with widowhood and raising the family and everything. So it's up to Dorothea. And her thought, she's an earl's daughter. Her thought is, I need to make a good match because I need to be able to set the stage for my siblings. Like, I need to take care of this family. And the problem is that since their father never wanted to bring them to London because it would interrupt his fun, they had no connections there. So her focus is, title. He's got to be wealthy, got to have a title. Like, that's what I want. And so, of course, the hero is not any of those things. He's not wealthy and he has no title. But okay, so here's the review. This is a good book with smooth writing and solid character development. Unfortunately, I found the FMC so wholly unlikable that I spent most of the book affronted, murmuring about how ridiculous and terrible she is. She's prideful, judgmental, elitist, and condescending. Well written, for that was the intent, but near torture to endure. The MMC was excellent, but that only served to make me despise the FMC even more. So, poor Dorothea. And again, with the series, we get to see her development, and she really humbled herself at the end of the book. She made major progress, but the thing is too, in real life, when we grow as a character, it's not quick. It's like, yes, in fiction, we want to make it by the end of the book, but it's not quick, but it's a process. You keep growing. I'm 55 and I'm still growing. I hope I keep growing until I'm old, keep developing, keep having more beautiful traits of character as time goes on. That's my hope in any case. But yeah, and then someone else said, I had a hard time liking Dorothea. Maybe it was just immaturity, but she was very closed-minded, even toward her own family. I couldn't really see what Miles liked about her. So yeah, that was a tough one. I'm in the process of writing book 2 for this one, and I know I'm going to get skewered for Sophia as well, but it's going to be for the opposite reason, because Sophia is incredibly shy, and I think I'm going to get readers who want to throttle her because she measures every word. She overthinks about everything. It's going to make people crazy. I hope everyone likes the book anyway, but yeah, but that's just the thing. There are so many of us. We all are so different. We women are so different, and there's so much beauty to different traits, and we all need to grow no matter how awesome we are from the very beginning. So hopefully there will be people that can identify with her, because that's the other thing about writing, is that you're writing also for women who can relate to the main character. Yeah, I have a really hard time showing my emotions. I have a really hard time being vulnerable, or I have a really hard time. I know I should do this thing, but I'm fighting against it, or my circumstances are really hard. Like, life is getting me down, and so the hope of fiction is to be able to boost you up and say, keep persevering, and there is a happy ending for you too. So the last book I want to talk about of mine is A Whimsical Notion, and I think that this review is perfect. It comes down to what I think a lot of our problems are as women against female characters. Here is the review. I have an unnatural dislike of ladies with red hair. I am not casting shade. I respect all of these opinions, and I can even see truth in some of them. It goes back to a disagreeable young lady I attended school with. I have a hard time reading books where a lady with red hair is nice. I love it. And yeah, Honoria was not the vain pit viper that she knew. But I do think a lot of times our dislike of heroines really does come back to somebody that we knew, or, it just really, even subconsciously, this was very obvious, but I think a lot of times subconsciously we remember that person that did this thing to me or whatever. And, I get it. I had a pretty tough junior high. The first one who said something about how not sure what this author seems to have against women. I'm way more comfortable with women friends than with men friends. I mean, my husband is obviously a major exception, but yeah, I love women. I love women, even the difficult ones. I love them. So I'm not saying that my childhood and young years were particularly easy. And I do have to say that I think what helped me was reading books like Anne of Green Gables, where the characters were noble and spirited, and but I think that part of being on women's side is allowing them to have a personality, allowing them to have time for character growth, being patient. I mean, obviously not if it's stepping on your boundaries or anything like that, but just being patient with people's characters. So that is my long, hot take. But I would love to know what you think. What kinds of heroines do you not like? Like, what kinds of heroines do you struggle with? Do you also feel like women are harder on heroines than they are on the heroes in the books that they read? Let me know what you think in the comments.